Hello, this is Truth Be Told Transformation, and I'm Bonnie Burkert, here to share tools for transformation, to live your highest truth. One thing that's true for me, and you've heard me say this before, is that music moves us. We move through music. So how does that work? I mean, we're in community, we're dancing, we feel it, but maybe there's even more to that. So I've invited a guest today who's going to talk about certainly his career in helping us find the devotion and joy in music, but also his understanding about what it's doing to our mind. Let's start off with a little music right now to get us in the mood. Welcome, Dave Stringer.
Gata me vahai sai ramata katu kavachana mata bori gata me vahai sai ramata Kavachana mata bori Kungata ke hata kore tohe pia nilenge Kungata ke to call the rector, hey, beyond me lange. Soon I'm a holler, maybe on a bar we lay. I saw no say matter. Jagat Jugatase Rangama Aume Pia Payo Anamore Lift up your veil and meet your beloved. When it's love that lives in every heart, why do you say such bitter things? Speak sweetly, then you will meet your beloved. Your money and your looks make you so proud, but when this masquerade is over, this costume you call your body will unravel back into the elements again. There's a lamp shining in the heart's palace, and in its light the whole world becomes divine. Once you found that light, don't ever lose it. Wake up, wake up. Explore the palace that is within you. This is the love that no one sells or buys. Lift up the veil and meet your beloved. Lift up your veil and and meet your beloved. Got to care, participatory, tohe, pia, milenge.
Thank you. That is great. Thank you, Dave Stringer. Welcome to Truth Be Told Transformation.
It's a pleasure to be here, Bonnie.
Tell me about that song. I mean, I know you as a Kirtan artist, and yet look at the original composition.
Well, I was singing in Hindi.
Okay, yeah.
And that's actually a poem by Kabir, who wrote in the 15th century, and he wrote some of the most ecstatic love poetry. I think he was born a Muslim and actually became a Hindu or took a Hindu teacher. And anyway, what he is talking about is a path that's beyond any particular religion. And I always loved these words, and I loved the translation of it. So I was singing in Hindi and then sang the translation. And I love singing it because it reminds me that sweetness is what produces results in this world. And the music that I make in the community that I'm involved in, the Kirtan community, is meant to change your vibe and change your mind and change your mood.
Yeah.
And I found that singing in just a few minutes changes everything up for me. I mean, I can be mad or frustrated or whatever, and like really just 5 minutes of singing it and I feel better. So
yes, fantastic.
Yeah.
And for us, for Tony, who's in the studio with me, the two of us as well, from just that one song. So you mentioned your community, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up an upcoming event. So for those of you watching in the fall of 2023, Dave has created a really exciting event on 11/11 in Los Angeles, as well as online. So there's many ways to participate, also known as worldwide. So please tell us about the Oracle Collective.
So the origin of the Oracle Collective started deep in the pandemic when Kirtan is a form of community singing. And everybody sings together, a leader sings out, usually a Sanskrit mantra, and people sing back. And it starts slowly, and then it gets faster and faster, and people start really dancing. And it's got a kind of gospel vibe to it. And especially as it exists in America, it's also got a healthy chunk of Americana in it. It's something that Indians brought to America to teach Americans, and it's become a kind of a homegrown, well, actually kind of worldwide folk music scene. But it's something that really, it's not a performance so much as it is a way of facilitating an experience for people, right? So you need those people, and Zoom doesn't cut it. So like all of a sudden this community is atomized and nobody's performing anymore, because the thing that we need the most, which is to sing together, is also like the most virus transmissive thing we could do.
Oh, interesting.
So we started trying to pull the community together. And I think for many listeners, maybe they don't understand that the advent of all the streaming services, which makes it so much easier to hear music anywhere, anytime, has also been a financial catastrophe for musicians. And meaning like 1 million plays on Spotify gets you $800. Okay. Now, if I could sell 1 million albums like back in the CD age, I'd be buying a house.
Right.
And, but so the idea is that the community itself has the resources within itself, and by creating a more intimate experience, relationship directly with the audience and with each other, by actually working together, that we can accomplish something that helps transmit our music better and makes a better living for us. So that was the advent of it. And because no one was on the road, I could reach everybody.
Yeah, true.
And I've traveled all over the world in the last 20 years, from like Shanghai to Berlin. And so I have a network of people that I realized, like, wow. And on that level, I was really wealthy in terms of like the people that I knew from basically going around and singing, trying to create joy in the world, So that's how the community came together.
Oracle Collective, if you have a chance to check this out, and really what what this means is that you can find incredible artists that are singing this form of music, mantra music, chant music, Kirtan. I think of Kirtan as more the live event. I mean, do we refer to that on record? But these are artists that are very accomplished singers and musicians, and that have, I don't know, songs that uplift. And that's one of the things that we like to share as we are, working on tools for transformation here.
Yeah.
I think that music can maybe do that.
Yeah, ecstasy is contagious, as it turns out. I mean, anger is too, unfortunately. So in a sense, the thing is, make a choice, what you want to put out there.
Right, very much so. Yeah. So let's talk about your trajectory through all of this. I mean, you started, where are you from? You started as
I guess I'm a
guitarist?
I'm a lapsed choir boy.
Okay.
And I think what happened is that for me, this idea that somehow our essence was bad and needed to be fixed never really agreed with me. And I much prefer this idea that my essence is good. And everybody's essence is good, and things happen that perhaps those obstacles are also opportunities for us to discover ourselves,
Love it.
and in many ways, improve ourselves. But I am not by nature a believer or a joiner. I'm probably a singularity as a Kirtan singer, because it's called devotional music, but I'm an agnostic. And which shocks people. But the thing is, for me, is agnostic means literally don't know. And I think this is
fair enough.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the opening point of all knowledge, is to say, I don't know. How come? How does this work? Right? So the short story for me is I used to make a living as a professional video editor in Hollywood, and I was hired to go to India to make some films for an Indian teacher, a guru. And I had no previous involvement, and they hired an outsider because they wanted to make videos about Eastern philosophy for beginners. And I was a beginner, and so the idea was Perfect. That the videos would mirror my process of discovery. It was an astounding education in all things Eastern philosophical, but what I loved about it is that its emphasis wasn't on belief, it was on experience.
Okay.
And so what they wanted me to do was experience, for example, the chanting. And it was nonsensical to me, but beautiful, like the sounds I really loved. And I loved the fact that it was participatory and transformational. So for me, I started to inquire, how does this work? Like, I don't believe in this, but yet I'm having a really profound experience of it.
Were you sitting with a large group of people, call and response?
It started out, there's like, I get there for Shivaratri, which is a huge Indian festival, and there are thousands of people chanting, and they're chanting Om Namah Shivaya, which is a powerful, famous mantra.
Shiva.
And they don't tell me what it means, and I'm sitting there trying to listen and going, what am I singing and what's this about, okay? And so I broke it down sonically, and it was kind of like a giant for me. I was like, okay, reference John Cage, okay? Like, let 5,000 people all sing nonsensical syllables, like all at once. And at first we were asked just to repeat it. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And it started to create all these really interesting sounds, like bits of conversation, helicopters whirring, babies crying, steam whistles going off. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool sound. What is in this sound? And what I got out of it first is like, Om. Oh, is an expression of surprise, openness, wonder, delight. Felt like satisfying, close, like mother. Sure. Felt like satisfying, or relief. Shh. Is the sound of quiet.
True.
It's the sound of delight, like children on a playground. It's the sound I used to make when I was like a kid playing with cars.
Sure.
Energy, right? And it was like, maybe what this means is all these sounds. It means, it means, it means, it means, shh, it means, it means, which was really cool. And so I got it that way, and I explained it to somebody afterwards. I'm like, I think I know what it means. And they were like, yeah, that's exactly what it means.
Sure.
It's like an expression of like, essentially, I'm in the infinite, the infinite's in me. And like the world is made of vibration and sound. Mm-hmm. And the whole point of chanting is to change your vibration.
Lord Shiva liked to play with those little cars and go woo as well.
Still, always,
oh my God, that is
shall be.
so great. Right. All right, so let's talk about vibration.
Yeah.
Because for me, everything I want to share here is to help people understand about their energy, shifting their energy, awareness of their energy. Mm-hmm. And this kind of tiptoes also into how I titled the show, you have some fascinating insights with neuroscience that you have researched and studied. So
yes, I will give some credit where some credit is due here. Bonnie and I first met working on a film called Mantra, Sounds into Silence, which I'll give a little shout out to. It's findable out there.
Yeah.
And I had been introduced to the neuroscientist Andrew Newberg, who calls himself a neurotheologist. And my involvement in the movie, I think I had told the director, Georgia, that she should interview him. And so there's segments in it in which he's talking about the neuroscience of ecstasy, of the ecstatic. And I'm also referencing it as well. His books are amazing. Why God Won't Go Away is a really interesting place to start. He says it doesn't matter if there is a God or not. Our brains are wired to produce the experience of the ecstatic. And that itself is an evolutionary adaptation, that helps us work together towards a common goal. It helps us feel empathy towards one another. And he's explored the mechanisms of how it works. And so I started, through my contact with him, starting to explore, well, how does a chant work? Okay. What I sang at the beginning was a bhajan, like a poem set to music, essentially. But what kirtans is there's a simple thing, like you might start with a phrase like this. So, bolo, bolo, sub mila bolo, namah shivaya. And the crowd would sing back, bolo, bolo, sabmila bolo, namah shivaya, hara shambho, om namah shivaya. Like this, right?
Yeah.
And it starts slow and it speeds up. And often a chant can take 15 or 20 minutes to unfold, and it gets faster and faster. And what's happening first is that by slowing our breathing down and making it regular, we are stimulating our parasympathetic autonomic nervous system, which is our relaxation response, okay? And at the same time, we're stimulating part of our angular cingulate in our frontal cortex, which is associated with compassion. And people tune up. But as it gets faster and faster, the repetition also stimulates our sympathetic nervous system, which is often known as the fight or flight mechanism. Now, normally what's happening in us is that the hypothalamus is regulating, it's trying to maintain some kind of balance. So if you get too hot, it tells your body to cool down. If you're too cold, it tells it to warm up. It's trying to kind of constantly find its way toward the middle. So normally what happens is the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems operate in series. What happens when we chant, when we dance, and when we have sex is that they operate in parallel together. So we are stimulating a parasympathetic response and maintaining it because of the steadiness of the breathing. But we're also creating an excitation response because it gets faster and faster, and because there's an excitement of singing together. So what's happening is both sides are getting triggered at the same time, and that creates this amazing sort of weightless feeling of intense presence and intense calm at the same time, you're excited and at the same time
you're
chill.
Blissed out. Yeah, exactly.
You're blissed out.
Yeah.
It's really a singular experience, and I can describe it, but it's not the same as doing it. And the thing is that once you do it, you're like, oh, I get it. You could sit in a crowd of people singing with absolute strangers, and at the end of it, turn to somebody and just I love you. And you mean it, because that's how you feel.
I know. It's great. I saw another interview where you were describing a man that had to get up and leave one of your lectures.
Oh, yeah.
And he was so moved, and the reason he had to leave was because he was so deeply moved. Do you want to comment just on an example of how deeply this can affect people?
It shook loose a bunch of stuff. And,
Yeah.
and I've told people, like, they're like, do I have to, like, be like chanting to something or be in a state of ecstatic bliss? I'm like, no. Are you in one right now? No. Well, would you like to be in one? Okay. Well, then just sing. And like, I always feel like, look, I'm not anybody's guru and I don't want to be, I'm just a person who's in process, but I know that I can take whatever is going on for me and essentially throw it at singing and sometimes get perspective or just simply feel better about it. And I think that's a useful thing for the world. I think that, Congress should open with a chanting session.
Yeah. Amen.
It's never going to happen.
Hare Krishna.
It's never going to happen. Hare Krishna, yeah.
So let me ask about pop music. Because, Dave walked in wearing a Blue Note Records t-shirt. He loves all kinds of different music and brings all different kinds of music. But I guess maybe audiences don't participate in the same way that they would along with a Kirtan song. That is that call and response, which you've likened to kind of a gospel experience also.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, in the sense, the closest I think we get to it is like gospel music, where people are like, they are singing back or they're involved deeply in it. You can get that at I've been to like a U2 concert.
Yeah, I was just going to say U2 for some reason.
Yeah, people know the words and there's a tremendous unity in doing that.
I think, so that's part of it. So it some of it is there, but then we do have the higher vibrations of the Sanskrit, oftentimes, right? The mantras themselves. So going back to the mantra sounds into silence.
Right. The mantras, also are stimulative. It's said that the origin of Sanskrit, which if you study linguistics is actually the origin of most Western European languages, its structure, believe it or not, since you and I both speak German, is it has the same equivalent of die, der, das in it. Its verb placement and everything is very, very similar. And so a lot of words come straight out of Sanskrit into most of the modern European languages. So in a way, at least speaking from the perspective of the Western world, it's the root language of us all.
Wow.
But it has been shown that the vibrations of the language also are stimulative of particular lovely neurochemicals in your neuropeptides in your brain. So you get also this beautiful cascade of dopamine and serotonin and ultimately oxytocin, and a lovely thing that they call anandamide. Ananda is the bliss, the word for bliss in Sanskrit, and they call it anandamide because it's a neuropeptide that your brain makes that produces a state of ecstatic bliss. And this is the amazing thing. Like, all the drugs you need are actually made in your brain. And so if you look at it even from that point, it's like, well, let me take charge of my neurochemistry. Like, what can I do to shift that up? And, people experience it by, you can go running, you can go swimming, you can go dancing, you can go singing, you can play an instrument. Those things stimulate it. And so if you want to feel better about yourself and your life, there you go.
Find it. Natural high.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it.
Yeah.
So you've got your guitar there. Would you like to sing a little something else for us? I want to talk about Mantra Americana.
All right.
Dave is a Grammy-nominated artist 2 times, and for Mantra Americana, and we had his colleague Madi Das on the show. Also, there's an episode with Madi talking about this most recent project and previous record. So I don't know if you've got any tracks of that, but either way, I just feel that...
I might play you something that's actually Americana as opposed to Mantra Americana, but we'll get there. But let me talk about the record.
Yeah, please.
So that record is a collaboration between a second-generation Hare Krishna and an agnostic who lived in India for 2 years. And the first record that we made, Bhakti Without Borders, was for the benefit of girls' schools in India, and it was really Madi, as the lead singer, doing a series of duets. And it was the first record I ever produced for another artist. It was interesting for me to step back because I'm known as a singer myself, and just be like, okay, why don't you just serve this? And what Mahdi and I started to do was to take bits and pieces. He grew up in India. Kind of his parents were like those professional Hare Krishnas that sent their kids to boarding school while they were off being, blissful, whatever. His dad's German and his mom's American, and he grew up in India and speaks Hindi. And so he approached me with the idea of taking kind of remembered bits from his childhood of traditional songs, and filtered through his memory. It's kind of a recombinative process. And we took those deeply Indian things and put them on an acoustic guitar. And that changed it. And there's things about American music and Indian music that they have in common, which is that country music is essentially modal. And it actually comes out of Irish music, which itself is modal, meaning it doesn't really change key. Like there's a note that you can maintain through the whole thing, that a drone. And so we were able to, like in India, you don't really sing harmonies. And when we started putting like 3-part harmonies on stuff, it changed the sound of it in a beautiful, joyous way. And I would sing one of those songs, but the funny thing is for me is like I produced the record and played all sorts of instruments from like lap steel to accordion to electric dulcimer and harmonica and stuff on it. And I also arranged the vocal quartet that sings backup to him, and I'm one of the singers in the quartet. But the lead singer is actually Mahdi.
Okay.
So for me to sing those songs, I mean, I played guitar on them, harmonium and everything like that, would not be to do it full justice. But the Mantra Americana records, like right now the voting season is open for the next round of the Grammys.
Yeah.
And how should I say this? A lot of stuff ends up sounding the same. I'm always a little disappointed, and you're like, oh my God, all those records sound alike. Mantra Americana does not sound alike. It sounds quite different from a lot of other things out there, and it's accessible. My father-in-law, who lives in Dublin and loves Irish music, is like, I like this. I don't know what you're singing about, but I really like it. I can't do an Irish accent. I'm not even going to try. But I've found that it has a resonance that's far beyond the yoga world.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, it does.
But I'm going to sing a song completely off the map here. It's like I recorded a version of it a long time ago, and probably will do another one, but I'm going to sing in English, which maybe will shock people.
Okay.
And I don't know why this song seems sort of appropriate right now, but it's definitely Americana. There is an ember of a fallen star in the hot springs of my veins, fuel of a fusion's fire. We burst to flame and then expire. I lay my babe down in the water. I sing, a body born of wonder, born of pain. Everybody, we shall pass just as we came. In fire and flood, the earth gives issue. Steam and mud, blood and tissue. Thunder rolls and then it rains. Flesh is brief and labor tires. I'm bathed in sweat and tears and swollen with desire. In every cell a coiled viper of wisdom and despair, birthmark that I bear. I sing, a body born of wonder, born of pain. Everybody, we shall pass just as we came. Fire of fossil leaps in black coal, fuse of a missile deep in my soul. Thunder rolls and then it rains, and my heart is filled with fear and hunger. Storm and thunder will surely tremble and subside. I know I will be lifted higher into the light. I sing my best in the choir. I martyr. I send my hymn out on the wire, release and reunion in the eternity of fire. I sing, a body born a wonder, born of pain. Everybody, we shall pass just as we came. A child is born, 1 billion years old. Diamond formed above volcano. Thunder rose and then it rained. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yay! Cheers. Thank you. That is so incredible. I think Yogi Bhajan said that we can change the world with a guitar or something,
right?
A quote like that. So
right.
In these final moments, I mean, what's happening with that? I mean, coming together around music and what music can do for us. I mean, we talked a little bit about how it can make us feel, but what's your future hope for all of us and playing music versus maybe just creating it on digital devices?
Well, maybe I hope that on some level, as much as I try to make a living as a professional musician, I hope in some ways that the age of the professional musician also passes, in the sense that we are musical. Humans are musical. In some ways, it's maybe the operating system of humanity. I found this out in a sort of a bittersweet discovery. My mother died of Alzheimer's a few years ago, and it was a long, strange twilight. And I discovered, I think a little too late, but I did discover that music snapped her back into something like normal. There was a grand piano in the lobby of her, care facility, and we would sit down at the piano and I would sing to her. I'm just making up songs, like just talking to her, but in song, and she would sing back to me in song.
Amazing.
And even
was she
when
musically inclined?
She had played the piano quite well when,
yeah.
in her prime. But the thing is that we'd never really sung to one another that way. And she was at this point having difficulty even expressing herself, even getting words out. And when we put music to it, we could have a conversation. And somehow that music snapped her back into something that was like normal and recognizable to me and emotionally available. And that tells me that music is so deep within us that if it sounds so trite to say music can heal the world, but if it can bring one's mother out of from not being able to talk to being able to say I love you, that's an amazing thing. It's
miraculous.
And there are so many world events where you're just like, could you all just get together and sing? That would be great. I don't want to refer to any specific politics or anything that's happening in the world right now, but let's just say there's plenty of opportunities when people could be singing together and they're not. And I think at the end of the day, art is what is essential in terms of our humanity. And yet it's so easily dismissed, as somehow not being important. Schools, the first thing they're going to cut is music education.
Which is so crazy. And yet at the same time, we've got Mozart for babies, playlists and things like that, right? The Mozart effect that supposedly helps children.
Right.
Very contrary.
Right, but everybody's like, well, why would you want to grow up to be a musician? You'll always struggle financially,
Tell that to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well, there's always a few exceptions, But the thing is the music I make has brought me again and again to the importance of community. I mean, as an artist, I think I discovered in the pandemic, in a way that I hadn't really grasped before that my art means nothing without a community. What began, I suppose, for me as a kind of healing thing for myself, or just a way of expunging whatever was bothering me. It was certainly good for me to sit in a room by myself and sing, but it was at the point of taking it out and having that changed upon an audience that it started to really become meaningful in another way. And so as I start to return to performing, it all comes back.
I was looking at a performance of you, and you tell everybody in the audience, you're now part of the band.
Yeah.
So jump in
Right.
and sing. And so that's what's going to be happening on 11/11 in Los Angeles proper, if you can grab a ticket in time for that. Otherwise, globally, let's all come together and do that. And thank you for guiding so many other artists. I mean, you are truly a leader for so many artists in this genre. You helped get the chant added onto the Grammy category. It used to be just New Age, and now chant is part of that category.
Yeah, that took a little lobbying and I think convincing the various powers that were that, first of all, chant was a living form of music that was being played by people all over the world. I mean, there's chant bands, like everywhere from like Green Bay, Wisconsin to, Canberra, Australia. And people are doing this in living rooms and, and also on professional stages. But it does represent a worldwide audience. And it's not New Age music in the sense that it's not chill in that sense. And I'm not knocking New Age music. I'm just saying that the first time that Mahdi and I were nominated for a Grammy for Bhakti Without Borders, we're like, we're in the New Age category. And I'm like, but this isn't New Age. Why would anybody vote for it? It's, but that's like, well, you're singing mantras. That's where we put you. Like,
right.
Okay,
we didn't know where else to put you.
We didn't know where else
I
to put
almost
you.
feel like it's more world.
It is more world, or now they've renamed that global. But and I could see it belonging there as well. But they gave it a name, chant, and that's great that it has allowed the community to come together underneath that banner, and it's also in a way sort of a command. Chant.
Yeah, exactly. Well, who knows? Maybe, you were able to get it added on as part of the New Age category. Maybe you'll be able to get its own category.
Eventually.
I mean, Americana is a very recent category.
It is very recent.
Yeah, maybe 12 years or something like that.
Right.
So,
and it's funny, like back to the Mantra Americana project too. When I first started touring back in the day, I was playing like Nashville and Asheville and Atlanta and Charleston and New Orleans and places like this, and people are like, what are you doing? Like, isn't that, like, shouldn't you just be playing in California and New York? I was like, well, actually, the world's largest Hare Krishna ashram is in West Virginia, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
But we're also trying to reclaim Americana from, I suppose, I want to say the NASCAR crowd or whatever, no aspersions. But the thing is that what we mean by Americana is a lot more diverse. I mean, like, I'm a white dude of a certain age. I understand that. But the thing is that American music is a product of an incredible accretion of a lot of different influences.
Yeah.
And everybody's borrowing from everybody else. And if you travel across the South, there's plenty of Indians, plenty of Latinos, there's plenty of African Americans, and all these people are actually practicing yoga. And so all these cultural influences are coming to bear on yoga as well. Yoga starts out as an Indian thing, but if you take the seeds of a plant and plant it in other soil, it comes up. It's like, it's still recognizably, whatever that plant is, but it might taste different because of the soil that it's in. And so I guess what we're trying to say we're trying to put forth another positive message about American culture in the sense that it's inclusive as opposed to exclusive, and that it is the sound of many voices and many cultures coming together. Brilliant.
Thank you. So beautifully said. Appreciate you coming by.
It's a pleasure.
I'm going to do my little outro, and then you can play something for us as we fade out, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. This has been Dave Stringer, Bonnie Burkert talking to you from the Truth Be Told, now Club Paranormal Studios. We are on the Club Paranormal network. Don't forget, you've got Tony Sweet for Truth Be Told on Fridays live at 3 p.m. And also Robert Hensley is doing the Minuteman Report, which you can see new episodes that pop up on Mondays. Thanks for being here, everyone. We are really just trying to raise the vibe. This world needs it more than ever. So thanks for sharing and liking and letting people know what we're up to here. We'll see you next time. Until then, shine on.
Devakinandana Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Gopala, Govinda, Govinda, Gopala, Gopala, Govinda, Govinda, Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Devakinandana Gopala, Gopala, Govinda, Govinda, Gopala, Gopala, Govinda, Govinda, Gopala, Gopala, Govinda, Govinda, Gopala, Gopala, Govinda, Govinda, Gopala.